Hello and welcome. Today we're going to delve into a deeply painful and often confusing topic: the dynamic between a narcissistic mother and her scapegoat child. A narcissistic mother is characterized by an inflated sense of self-importance, a profound lack of empathy, an insatiable need for admiration. Her entire world, and by extension her family, revolves around her needs. This creates a toxic family system where children are often assigned roles to maintain the mother's fragile ego, rather than being nurtured as individuals. One of the most damaging roles is the scapegoat, the child designated as the target for the family's problems, frustrations, dysfunctions. They become the repository for the mother's projected shame, anger, self-loathing. The scapegoat can do no right and is systematically blamed, criticized, invalidated. This isn't just a mother having a bad day. It's a consistent, soul-crushing pattern of psychological abuse that can leave lifelong scars. Understanding these dynamics is the first step toward validation and healing, recognizing that what you experienced was not normal, not your fault, and that it had a name. We'll carefully unpack 10 of the most common and shocking behaviors narcissistic mothers display toward their scapegoat child. My hope is that by shedding light on these truths, survivors feel seen, understood, empowered to begin their journey of recovery. Let's get started. The first and perhaps most pervasive behavior is a relentless barrage of criticism. For the scapegoat child, it feels like living under a microscope. Every single flaw, real or imagined, is magnified and scrutinized. It's not about constructive feedback designed to help the child grow. Let's be very clear about that. This criticism is about control, about maintaining a sense of superiority, about dumping the mother's own dissatisfaction. It's a constant dripping tap of negativity that erodes a child's sense of self-worth. This criticism can be about anything and everything. The way the child dresses, their grades at school, their friends, their hobbies, the way they chew their food, even the way they breathe. No achievement is ever good enough. An A on a test is met with, "Why wasn't it an A+?" A clean room is met with, "You missed a spot." This pattern teaches the child a devastating lesson. They are inherently flawed. Nothing they do will ever be sufficient to earn their mother's approval or love. The insidious nature is that it's often disguised as caring. The mother frames remarks as helpful advice or high standards. "I'm only telling you this because I love you. I just want you to be the best you can be." But the emotional impact is being constantly judged and found wanting. The child internalizes this critical voice, a lifelong inner critic. This creates chronic anxiety and hypervigilance, always on edge, waiting for the next criticism, walking on eggshells, trying to preempt what might set her off. This is an exhausting way to live, and it wires the child's nervous system for threat. They learn that home is not a safe place. The primary caregiver becomes the source of deepest pain. Over time, the child is convinced they are the problem. Difficult, unlovable, incompetent, perpetually disappointing. It's a form of brainwashing that systematically dismantles a child's self-esteem, brick by brick. This is not just tough love. It is a calculated campaign to keep the child small, dependent, forever seeking the approval they will never receive. It's an unwinnable game. The rules are always changing, and the only constant is the child's failure. The second shocking truth is how the narcissistic mother weaponizes blame, making the scapegoat child the designated fall guy for every family problem. She's blamed for her mother's bad moods. She's blamed for marital problems between the parents. She's blamed for the family's financial struggles. She's blamed for the misbehavior of her siblings. They become the family's emotional dumping ground. A narcissist can't take responsibility for their actions or feelings. Their fragile ego cannot tolerate being flawed. So when something goes wrong, they find someone else to blame, and the scapegoat child is the obvious, powerless target. "I'm so stressed out because you're so difficult. Your father and I are fighting because of the trouble you cause." This is a heavy, unjust burden for any child to carry. It's profound emotional manipulation. The pattern teaches a distorted view of cause and effect. They start to believe they have an almost magical power to cause bad things. If mom is unhappy, it must be my fault. If dad is angry, I must have done something to provoke him. Gaslighting is one of the most insidious and mind-bending forms of psychological abuse, and it is a core tool in the narcissistic mother's arsenal. At its heart, gaslighting is the manipulation of a person into doubting their own sanity, their perception of reality, and their memories. For a scapegoat child, this is a constant experience. The mother will systematically deny the child's reality to protect her own flawless self-image and maintain absolute control. This often manifests in outright denial of events. The child might say, "You yelled at me yesterday," and the mother will respond, "That never happened. You have such a vivid imagination. You're being far too sensitive." She might deny promises she made, deny insults she hurled, or deny actions she took. This isn't just a simple case of forgetting, it's a deliberate strategy to make the child question their own memory. When the person who is supposed to define your reality consistently tells you that your reality is wrong, you begin to lose your grip. Another form of gaslighting is twisting the narrative. The mother will retell events in a way that completely changes the context, making her the victim and the child the aggressor. She might provoke the child into an emotional reaction, and then, when the child gets upset, she will say, "See, you're so unstable. I was just trying to talk to you calmly and you flew off the handle." She edits reality in real time to fit her preferred story, leaving the child feeling confused, guilty, and like they are the crazy one. This constant invalidation of their feelings is a powerful form of gaslighting. The child will be told, "You shouldn't feel that way. You're overreacting. You're too sensitive." The long-term effect of this is devastating. It severs the connection between the child and their own inner world. Healing from gaslighting involves the difficult and courageous process of learning to trust yourself again, to honor your memories, and to validate your own feelings, even when the world, and especially your mother, told you they were wrong. For a narcissistic mother, image is, well, everything. She needs to be seen as a perfect, doting parent. This need coexists with her need to control and devalue the scapegoat child. This conflict often results in a particularly cruel behavior: public humiliation. This is where the mother embarrasses, shames, or belittles the child in front of others. Family, friends, teachers, complete strangers. It serves a dual purpose. Momentarily elevates the mother by making her seem witty, making her seem superior. It also powerfully reinforces the scapegoat's role as the flawed one. Joking about the child's weight at a family gathering, joking about the child's acne at a family gathering, joking about academic struggles at a family gathering, sharing embarrassing personal stories with friends, disguised as a funny anecdote. In many narcissistic family systems, the scapegoat does not exist in a vacuum. Their role is often defined in stark contrast to another, the golden child. The narcissistic mother openly and unabashedly plays favorites among her children. The golden child is the one who is idealized, lavished with praise, seen as an extension of the mother's own perfection. This dynamic is not subtle. It is a clear and painful hierarchy. The golden child can do no wrong, while the scapegoat can do no right. If both children get a B on a test, the golden child will be praised for trying their best, while the scapegoat will be chastised for not getting an A. The golden child receives better gifts, more privileges, a seemingly endless supply of the mother's affection and approval. The scapegoat, meanwhile, is often given hand-me-downs, stricter rules, a constant stream of criticism. The mother creates a system of competition and division between her children. This blatant favoritism serves the narcissistic mother's needs perfectly. It allows her to see a flawless version of herself reflected in the golden child, bolstering her ego. It also provides a clear and constant tool to punish and control the scapegoat. The mother will frequently compare the two children, saying things like, "Why can't you be more like your brother?" This is not meant to inspire the scapegoat, it's meant to wound them. It's a constant reminder of their perceived inferiority. This dynamic is incredibly damaging to both children, but in different ways. For the scapegoat, it provides irrefutable proof that they are unlovable. They see love and affection being given freely to a sibling, so the logical conclusion they draw is that the problem must lie within them. It also poisons the sibling relationship. It's very difficult for a genuine, healthy bond to form between the scapegoat and the golden child. The mother effectively triangulates her children, pitting them against each other to ensure that she remains the central figure, the one in control of all the relationships within the family. One of the most fundamental needs of a child is to feel loved, cherished, emotionally connected to their caregiver. For the scapegoat child of a narcissistic mother, this fundamental need is systematically starved. The mother withholds love, the mother withholds affection, the mother withholds emotional warmth as a tool of control and punishment. This isn't just a mother who isn't naturally demonstrative. This is a deliberate and conditional absence of emotional connection that leaves the child feeling perpetually cold and alone. This emotional withholding can be stark and obvious. The mother might refuse to hug the child. The mother might not offer words of comfort. The mother might show no form of physical affection. She may appear cold, she may appear distant, She may be perpetually annoyed by the child's presence. When the child is hurt or upset, instead of receiving comfort, they might be met with irritation. They might be met with dismissal, or even blame for being needy. The message is clear. Your emotional needs are a burden to me, and I will not meet them. Love in a narcissistic family is not a given. It is transactional. It is conditional. The mother doles out small crumbs of affection only when the scapegoat child is serving her needs, perhaps by achieving something she can brag about, or by being exceptionally compliant. But this love can be withdrawn in an instant, the moment the child steps out of line, or expresses a dissenting opinion, or fails to meet her impossibly high standards. The child learns that love is something that must be earned, and that it is incredibly fragile and easily lost. A narcissistic mother often feels threatened by her scapegoat child's potential success, independence, happiness. The child's achievements aren't really seen as something to be proud of, but more as a challenge to the mother's own sense of superiority and control. So, she will actively and systematically work to undermine the child's confidence. She becomes, the architect of their low self-esteem, making sure they never grow big enough to question her authority or even think about leaving her orbit. This undermining can be pretty overt. For example, when the child shares a dream or an ambition, the mother might immediately shut it down, calling it unrealistic, foolish, destined for failure. You want to be a musician? You're not talented enough for that. You need to be practical. She'll highlight every possible obstacle and magnify every risk, framing it as concern. But it's pretty clear the intention is to discourage the child from even trying. She plants seeds of doubt at every turn. But sometimes it's more subtle. The mother might sabotage the child's efforts or just diminish their accomplishments. If the child is proud of a project they've completed, the mother will, find a flaw in it. If the child wins an award, she might downplay its significance or immediately make it about herself. You get your intelligence from me. She just can't allow the child to have a moment of pure, unadulterated pride. The spotlight, in some way, always has to circle back to her. This teaches the child that their successes are not truly their own and are never quite good enough. It creates a really powerful fear of failure, but also, kind of paradoxically, a fear of success. Part of the healing journey for the scapegoat is to, identify and challenge this inherited script, to give themselves permission to dream, to try to fail, and to succeed. It's about understanding that their potential is not a threat, but actually a gift. For a narcissistic mother, the scapegoat child is not seen as a separate individual. Instead, the child is treated as an extension of the mother, an object she believes she owns and controls. This leads to a consistent invasion of privacy and a total disregard for personal boundaries. Those boundaries are actively violated to assert dominance, to gather information, and to use that information as leverage later. Concrete violations include reading a diary or journal, going through a child's phone, snooping through drawers and personal belongings. A closed bedroom door is treated like an affront. She will barge in without knocking. She often justifies this as being a concerned parent. But the underlying motive is control and surveillance. The violation of boundaries is also emotional and psychological. She may demand every detail of the child's social life. She demands their private thoughts and their deepest feelings. That information isn't sought for connection or support. It's weaponized. A secret confided in vulnerability may be brought up later in an argument, or shared with others to publicly humiliate. The lesson taught is brutal. Being vulnerable is dangerous. My private world is not safe from my mother. While a narcissistic mother may use anger and criticism, two of her most powerful and insidious tools of control are guilt-shame. She is a master at manipulating the scapegoat child's emotions, installing deep-seated buttons of guilt and shame she can press at any time to get the child to comply. This is not the healthy guilt that guides moral behavior. This is toxic, weaponized guilt designed to control and punish. Guilt tripping is a constant tactic. The mother frames herself as a long-suffering martyr, sacrificing everything for her ungrateful child. After all I've done for you. This is how you repay me? You're breaking your mother's heart. She makes her happiness and well-being the child's responsibility. The message, the child's attempts at independence, personal needs disagreements are painful attacks on the mother. Shame enforces conformity and punishes deviation. Humiliation is public. Shaming can be private but just as potent. It's an attack on the child's core identity. The mother implies the child is inherently bad, defective, shameful. I'm so ashamed of you. What will people think? She links behavior to a fundamental character flaw. This creates deep-seated worthlessness. This emotional manipulation keeps the scapegoat entangled. Even as an adult, the scapegoat may feel overwhelming obligation and guilt. They find it hard to set boundaries, say no, live their own life, because they've been conditioned to believe doing so makes them bad, selfish, ungrateful. The mother programmed them to feel guilty when they prioritize their needs. Long-term impact: chronic, not good enough, and pervasive toxic shame. They may walk through life feeling fundamentally wrong. They might self-sabotage, avoid opportunities because they don't feel they deserve them. Healing requires recognizing this guilt and shame for what it is, not your character, but a manipulative tool. It means learning to release unearned guilt and reclaim your right to a life free from shame. A narcissistic mother needs to be the central figure in her child's universe. Anyone or anything that threatens this position: friends, romantic partners, supportive teachers. One shocking, destructive behavior is the active sabotage of the scapegoat child's external relationships. She works to isolate the child, ensuring she remains the primary, often only significant relationship. This starts with friendships in childhood. The mother is overly critical of the child's friends. She makes socializing difficult, setting unreasonable curfews, forbidding activities. She'll say, "Your friends are a bad influence," or subtly suggest the friends don't really like them. The goal: create suspicion and distance, blocking supportive bonds. When romantic relationships form, sabotage intensifies. She's intensely critical and unwelcoming of partners. No one is ever good enough. She'll be rude to the partner, create drama during visits, and point out fabricated flaws or misinterpret intentions to turn her child away. She uses triangulation. Lie to the partner about her child. Lie to her child about the partner, manufacturing conflicts. Share private, embarrassing information to create rifts. Demand excessive time and attention, forcing impossible choices. You care more about them than your own mother. The goal is control. A strong support network threatens that control. By destroying external relationships, she keeps the scapegoat dependent and isolated. If you have listened to these 10 points and felt a painful sense of recognition, I want you to take a deep breath and know that you are not alone and you are not crazy. What you experienced was real. It was a form of profound psychological abuse, and it was not your fault. Recognizing these patterns is a monumental first step. It is the beginning of taking back your narrative and understanding that you were cast in a role in a play you never auditioned for. Your feelings of hurt, your feelings of anger, your feelings of confusion are valid. Please, I encourage you not to walk this path of healing by yourself. The isolation that was forced upon you in childhood does not need to continue into your adulthood. Seek out support from a qualified therapist who understands narcissistic abuse and complex trauma. Find support groups online. Find support groups in person where you can connect with other survivors who truly understand what you've been through. Sharing your story with people who get it can be an incredibly powerful and validating experience. Remember, healing is not only possible, it is your birthright. It is a journey of reclaiming your self-worth, learning to trust your own reality, building healthy boundaries, and reparenting that inner child who is so deeply wounded. There are resources, books, communities available to guide you. If you feel comfortable, I invite you to share a part of your story or your thoughts in the comments below. Reading each other's experiences can be a profound reminder that we are not alone in this. Healing means rebuilding those burned bridges and learning to nurture healthy relationships free from her interference. Thank you for your courage in being here today.